Okay, I think we are recording, and are we live, Ashley? Okay. Well, welcome everyone
Hang on,
to.
let me check. Just give me a second.
Oh, Ashley, I have confirmation from someone on the call that we're live. So I think we'll go ahead and get started. Um, Yes, so I want to welcome everyone to the Fall Term 1 Welcome and Onboarding webinar. We are excited to welcome you all into this academic year, and we are excited to share with you a lot of information about being on campus or in the town of Grinnell with you today. So just a few ground rules. This is a WebEx event, and you can type your questions right into the chat box to log the questions, and then we can field some of those questions at the end of the presentation today. So with that, I will turn it over to President Ann Harris and our student advisory representative, Francesca Dallabetta, to welcome us officially.
Hi, everyone. How are you? There's 76 of you, and I'm sure there'll be more of us joining together. We're all, I miss that hubbub of chairs being pulled out and people chatting with each other. So you have to imagine that embodied noise that we make when we come together as a community. So it's my honor to launch this strangest and most meaningful of academic years with you. Strange because COVID, intense because national events, discussions of racism, and then unexpected when there's a derecho that hits our very community in its most unexpected moment. So we are all going to have different adjectives for what we're living through. We want to think about and be intentional about what we're living through because, and this is the meaningful part of it for me, we're living it together and we will not forget it. And so I do think there are times, I think we're living through them this week again, when words will fail us, and living together, whether we're virtual or embodied together, will be very, very meaningful for this year. So here we go, academic year 2020. 2021. The information that you're going to hear today is going to be meaningful to all students as they come onto campus, and we hope to keep that growing. It'll be most directly pertinent for those of you who are on campus and in town right now. It is being recorded. It'll be distributed to all students. We want this information to be known and discussed and to be responded to as well through your feedback and so forth. So those of you who are on campus and who are in town, you're the individuals who will form our embodied community here in Grinnell. And you're doing so in the midst of a larger virtual community of Grinnellians. And I've tried, various and sundry different metaphors for this, of concentric circles, of different hues, but we're living our Grinnell experience in a way we never, ever have before. And I will say, those of you who are on campus and in town, in that that embodied presence of our community, hold a very special place here in Fall Term 1. It is a different than special place that our virtual community constituents hold, a larger framework that is truly global all around us. So I just think of how we're going to be connecting to each other differently, how that embodied experience and that virtual experience will speak to each other in the same classrooms, right? We'll speak to each other in the same co-curricular events. And when I keep talking to us about intentionality, it is about noting things. And I'm really hoping that you're recording, memorializing, journaling, videotaping aspects of this year for yourselves. I've mentioned this in a couple of other venues, but I do think you will be turned to by later generations, and you'll be asked, what was that like, that pandemic of 2020? How did you live it? And if we're intentional, if we're conscious of, hey, we've got a group of our community that's embodied here on campus. And then we've got this beautiful, large virtual community that frames us all throughout the world. We can think about how we relate to each other. And I will tell you this, whether you're on campus, in town, or on this planet, anywhere on this planet, you bring great joy. That's probably the most important thing I want to say to you today. You bring joy. Your presence, your experiences, your curiosities, what you want to learn this year, what you will teach us this year, that is an enormous source of joy. We have been working all summer with you, in response to you, for you, thinking about you, and now you're here. And that joy that we feel, that deep gladness, that happiness, is what you bring. And I want you to own that and also let it wash over you. You bring joy. I am so incredibly happy that you're here. And I know that I'm speaking for and with my colleagues when I say that. Now, that joy is simultaneous with other emotions. And I'm thinking that you're all enduring this as well, that our society is living these split screens a lot of times, because there is joy in coming together. There's this happiness in starting another academic year, phenomenal classes, faculty who are so eager to connect with you, staff who are there to connect with you. There's gladness in that. I'm happy in that. I'm happy in the midst of grief. I'm happy in the midst of grief, in the midst of a circle of grief is how I'm thinking of it, that radiates from what Jacob Blake is enduring to the too many names we must know and honor in the anti-racist work we must do on our own campus, in our own community, to all that we can and can't hold together as a community. So that joy in the midst of grief, I think, is a cadence. You see me processing it before you, learning how to live in that simultaneity. Many of you have lived in that simultaneity for many years. It's now out in our nation. It's part of our national dynamic. And so thinking again, back to our intentionality, back to our consciousness of this moment, thinking about how we live together and what we must hold together, again, embodied and virtual, to do that work of equity and democracy and education that we want to do together, whether we're virtual, whether we're embodied. So trying to give words to this, I bet many of you have images, poetry, writing, film that you're giving to this, to hold it, to be intentional about it, and then to shape it. I mean, this year of your agency to our community is incredibly powerful. You will have incredible agency to how we understand what we're living through. So today, those of you in this embodied community will learn more about your experience. You will set the stage and the tone for our hopes to increase the on-campus student population in fall term 2 and in both spring terms. We're going to look to you for your experience as it builds your knowledge and expertise, and you will have the most knowledge and the most expertise for what communal living and learning in a pandemic is like. I mean, that's going to be I'm going to use those terms, that knowledge and expertise that you're building. We're going to look to you for that knowledge and expertise, to learn from you, to learn with you. We're going to look for your feedback to our processes as we continue to develop them with student advisory committees and multiple other student groups, and of course with each other. Just as we look to you, I hope that you'll look to me and to everyone that's on this call today, and all the faculty and staff that you know are here to support you, so that we're going to be living this together, to shape this together. I want to be available to you. I'm going to be working on some kind of virtual office hours so that we can talk one-on-one. We can have members of the team that come together with me just to try to connect with each other, to see you here, to know that you're there, but not in the same room is, again, there's a lot of that joy and mourning in that instance dynamic that we can't be together. So we'll look to you for your knowledge and expertise. We want you to look to us as well. I genuinely look forward to learning how to live and learn in a pandemic with you. That is our overall framework within this year, unlike other years. It's filled with intentionality, joy, grief, purpose, institutional change, national change. We're going to be living that together. So a point then of order as we move into the next part together. Your SGA president, Lana Katai, could not be with us today, but I know she sends her best. So it's thus my pleasure to introduce Francesca Della Betta to you, who's been working on the student advisory group as we begin our session together. Welcome, Grinnellians, and here we go together.
Hello all, just wanted to introduce myself. Thank you for that introduction, President Harris. I want to second everything she eloquently said and take a moment to acknowledge that there is a more public viewing of some of the difficulties and tragedies of racism in our country that have been here for a very long time. So thank you for bringing that up, President Harris. I'm a rising third year for those who don't know, and I have served on the Student Advisory Committee that was created to help with the student experience in these times of COVID. So I hope you all are doing well. I miss seeing you in real life, and I'm grateful that we're all coming back to coalesce together as a campus community and a virtual community. And I hope this presentation can give you all some more context, and I'm always welcome to discuss anything personal or Grinnell related or related to this advisory committee at any time.
Hi, my name is Jen Jacobson. I use she, hers pronouns. I'm a 1995 alum of the college, part of that virtual community of Grinnellians that President Harris referred to. And I'm also a public health person. So I'm helping out with the college. And I want to second, I live in our community here. And I want to second the joy in seeing you all around on campus, both in the wake of the storm and just the energy you bring. I just want to frame, you're going to be hearing a lot about our public health approach, and I just want to clarify what we mean by public health. Public health is a set of strategies to promote and protect the health of people and the communities in which they live, learn, work, and play. So a reminder about why the college has done the work they've done all summer, right? To change the physical environment and to change the schedule and how we do things, as well as that being paired with individual behavioral choices we're asking all of our students, staff, and faculty to make, is to protect the vulnerable in our community and to keep our healthcare system from being overwhelmed. Early on in the pandemic, I quickly adapted to washing my hands for 20 seconds or 2 happy birthdays regularly every time I returned home. Part of my adjustment in thinking about community safety is equally prioritizing washing my hands before every time I leave my home. This match visual I love because it shows that it's important for me to do what I can to take myself out of a possible chain of transmission. We know what's possible for people varies. For example, I have the privilege of working from home, and I've also been able to limit my COVID bubble, my closed circle of close contacts of anyone who would be within 6 feet of me, to just one other person. But because, unlike, say, flossing regularly, when it comes to COVID-19, our health choices don't only impact our individual health, they directly impact the health of our friends, our peers, the community around us. We know that we're asking for a shift in norms and behaviors that would normally take years to happen in a much more compressed time schedule. Yet I believe together, because we are all motivated, at least in part by the same powerful why, we can do this. Public health relies on using a lens of social justice and equity, which aligns so well with our values as Grinnellians. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Rivera to share more on this.
Thank you, Jen, and thank you, President Harris. I'm very, very happy to be here and excited to be working with you all. I'm starting the year off with you, so we'll be kind of classmates, and I hope you adopt me as your fellow class mate, because we are starting this journey together at Grinnell this year. My job as Chief Diversity Officer is to help to create more equity, inclusion, and inclusion here at the college. And I'm just going to go over a few ways that I do that, and just to encourage you on ways that you can help do that, because This, I will refer to it as work, but it is actually all of our responsibility and something that I hope that you will take pleasure in doing because you'll get to learn more about new people and new experiences, and it will definitely broaden your horizons. And it helps make the community better and safer. So, the work at Grinnell, DEI stands for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. We're also going to be focusing on anti-racism work as well. Because as you know, we are in two pandemics right now. We have COVID-19 and we also have racism, which our country has not seen the uprisings like this since my mom was in college and she was a part of everything that the protest and things like that. So this is an exciting time, but also a very stressful time for all of us. And I want to reach out and say that we see you, I see you, and I hear your voices, and we do really care about you. So please, please take time to love yourselves and to breathe and give yourself a break. Okay? Because we are in this together. And so we just want to spread awareness. Another part of my job is awareness about all diversity, equity, and inclusion and anti-racist issues, but in particular about public health. We want you to be aware of the people around you, not just yourself, but also as a community member, there are people that you will come into contact with who have health concerns that you can't see from the outside. But remember, every time we come in contact with someone, they're coming in contact with other people as well. So let's just keep that in mind and be aware. Also, a part of awareness is understanding that there are health disparities. So that's that social justice and equity part of this conversation, that people of color or BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, and also the disabled are disproportionately affected during epidemics. And so please, please be aware of this, that these populations are at a higher risk due to some pre-existing health conditions, but also the lack of understanding in our healthcare system. So please keep that in mind, that the likelihood if one of your classmates or community members gets sick, if they're a person of color or from another vulnerable group, the likelihood of the severity of their illness is raised. And also, we want to talk to you about stigma. Throughout the year, unfortunately, some of us and some of you may test positive for COVID. We hope not, and we're doing everything we can to prevent that. But we are human beings, and sometimes we get sick. So we want you to know, and we want you to know that we do care about you, and we are going to be compassionate, and we would like to make sure that everyone is being compassionate with all of our community members. So if you do hear of someone that tests positive in our community for COVID, they are going through enough, they will be going through a hard enough struggle trying to recover and to stay on track with their studies and work and all of life's challenges. Please keep in mind that they're human beings, and let's have compassion for each other and not stigmatize and isolate them any more than they have to be during their sickness. And also empathy. That's the ability to feel and put yourself in the place of someone else. So let's empathize as we think about health disparities and stigmatizing those during this time. Let's be kind and gracious to each other. And also community commitment is something that is very big in my philosophy of diversity and inclusion. Yes, this work starts as individuals, but then as we grow as individuals, we are able to do the community work. And that means the more I learn about myself and learn about you, we can have respect for each other. And so let's make that commitment to follow all the safety protocols that we have put in place. They're not there to stop your fun. We still want you to enjoy life and be students, but we also want you to be safe, and we want everyone else to be safe as well. And lastly, I just like to include mindfulness. Let's just take a little time out of every day. I need to get better at this myself, but I'm starting to take some time out just to breathe and to center ourselves and to be mindful and grateful for where we are and who's around us. And as you become more mindful and practice mindfulness, then we will definitely grow towards being a more socially just and equitable society, because we're not just thinking of our own needs, we are considering the whole. And we hope that you do consider yourselves a part of the Grinnell family. And with that, I'd just like to say, please reach out. I love President Harris's idea about the virtual office hours, and I'm going to institute that myself. So please reach out, and we're thinking about you. Sorry if I went over time.
All right, one of the biggest things that has come out of our student advisory committee so far is the Grinnell Together commitment. So it kind of goes off great of what Dr. Rivera was talking about. Thank you for those wonderful points. I really liked the end with the mindfulness. That's really important to remember, especially in times like these. So the Grinnell Together commitment, hopefully you all have seen so far. And the student advisory committee was a part of editing and contributing and giving feedback on it. I think the most important thing that I want to convey right now is that it is a living document. And I was one of a couple student representatives, but none of, the 4 or 5 of us can encompass all of your thoughts and opinions. So there was an email at sa@grinnell.edu that you can send feedback to. And I think that is really important, that we're all in this together, and so that we all get to contribute to these guidelines that we will be living by as a community, and trying to just do our best to make our spaces safe for each other, while also making the most of it and getting to enjoy as much as we can some fun and learning together.
Thanks, Francesca. I think that the value of this commitment in this document as a whole is really about setting a common framework and understanding the why. And Dr. Rivera referenced that, Anne referenced that, Francesca referenced that, Jen referenced it. Is the why we do that is to minimize the spread of this virus within our community, especially recognizing that, again, it is our historically marginalized populations that have been impacted the most significantly by it. And so, and also yet we still don't know the long-term effects of the virus. And so I am thinking about our students' lives for years and years to come, and hoping that they are not dealing with long-term effects. You are not dealing with long-term effects of that. But what I value about this document, and the students had a really strong voice in that, is that in many ways it is far more about setting an ethos and how we will help one another live together as safely as possible in a collective understanding of these of our responsibilities to one another, how we will live day to day, both on and off campus, and with the desire to be transparent about the expectations of this document, and also what potential response is. My hope is that the far more the response is handled by active bystanders, people who are committed to the common good and the social responsibility that is a part of this document, to help one another, recognizing that we will all misstep at times. There will rarely be intentionality of ignoring our responsibilities, but we can help one another. We can remind each other to not forget the mask before we walk out the door. We can remind each other that as we talked in conversation, we started to get closer than 6 feet, because I don't know how many of you have had typical conversations on the campus, but rarely do they happen from 6 feet apart. That's a new dynamic that we have to navigate together. And it's all designed, again, for us to be able to do our part to minimize the spread, to mitigate the risk for each and every one of us, to hopefully be a model campus, to show that within the context of this framework, there is a way to return to campus life. There is a way to return to face-to-face learning in time because of the measures that our community has taken on. And we recognize that we will be employing practices that the world beyond our campus, across the nation, across the globe, has not fully embraced at times. And you will see people who are not exercising that. And all I can say is that I think we seek to do and follow the most responsive public health guidance that we have out there. As you know, since March, things have evolved. We will continue. That's why it's a living document, is that we will let data and good public health guidance drive our decision making. We will let student feedback, because you will unearth things that maybe play out in the practicality of student life that we haven't addressed in this document, and additional guidance is needed. That's why that feedback is so very important. There may be some things that play out one way that really practically need to play out a different way. All those things. And the thing that I want to emphasize, and this came up in our yesterday's student advisory community, is if you find yourself that and this goes back to Dr. Rivera's comments, if you have tested positive, we want to support you. There's not an assumption that you were doing things wrong. You can do everything right regarding to public health and still be exposed to this virus. That is a reality. You may be contacted by the Iowa Department of Public Health that lets you know that you had exposure. Please let us know that. That's really important so that we can provide support to you, provide a mechanism by which you can effectively quarantine and again, do your part to minimize the spread. So do not feel like there is risk in letting us know. It is about us offering that support. So please let us know in those moments. We want to mobilize and equip ourselves and your ability to do that. And we know, especially in the off-campus environment, some of that living situation doesn't make it easy for you to be able to quarantine in that space. We recognize that. So how can we be helpful? If space allows it, we will. And the other thing that's really important is that amnesty still applies, as it always has, for medical reasons or a Title IX dynamic. You should not worry about any sort of alcohol or drug violation in that context. That really, we want you to always call for help. We want you to do the right thing and call for help on behalf of your friends, so that knows that's still in place. That's critical from a public health perspective. That's critical from a harm reduction perspective, that we want you to do the right thing and take care of one another as you always have in really wonderful ways. And so that still is in place. And so again, all of this document is really intended to be a developing one over time. We feel good about where it stands right now, but we know that things will emerge over time.
All right, thank you, Ben. I'm Heather Cox, she, her, hers, and I'm the Associate Director of Emergency Management. And I'm just going to speak to you a little bit about our testing clinic that launched this week. So first off, to anyone that came through the clinic in our first few days, thank you so much for your participation and your patience. This was quite an undertaking, and I think it went very well, and it was in large part due to everyone's cooperation. So thank you. As we know, testing is an important part of identifying cases early and providing the isolation or self-quarantine and, of course, care for those positive cases, which is why we launched our own clinic here on campus. And we have an extensive program. So those included in the testing are on-campus and approved off-campus students, and then critical employees. And as many of you know, you test upon arrival and then weekly going forward. The process is really straightforward and takes about 5 to 10 minutes. And you come into the natatorium and you walk through a series of stations. And then when you're finished, you get to go back about your business and await your results within the next 24 to 48 hours. One thing that we are reminding everyone is that please bring your P card and your mask and shield to testing. It will be important to make sure that you have your shield, and we won't be able to check you in without your P card. So the testing, if you are outside of our testing program and would like to obtain a test, for those of you that are in Iowa, you can contact the Test Iowa site, and the link is listed here, so you can request through that process. And in exciting news, we are going to be partnering with the state to bring a higher education Test Iowa site here locally. We're still working out some of the details, so more information will be coming on that soon. And then if you're outside of Iowa, you can reach out to your medical provider or your local public health officials to obtain guidance on where to get a test. So some of the questions that we've seen coming in this week as we've launched the clinic is the students that might be out in the community but not included in the testing program at this time. And that is something that we are working very hard to address and looking at how we can either incorporate them in the testing or how we can get them brought into this Test Iowa site that we're developing just for our faculty, staff, and students. So we're keeping our eye on that. We want to get as many people tested as we can because that's just so important to understand the prevalence in the community and again, provide that care. All right, go ahead to the next slide. All right, testing results. So the results will come in by the end of the following day from your test. So if you're tested on Monday, your results come in by the end of the day on Tuesday. And if anyone were to receive a positive test result, they'll be contacted directly by a member of the Shaw nursing staff. So it's not an automated reply. You get to speak with a person who will then provide you with more instructions. And if you receive that result, you will go back to your residence hall or your off-campus residence and then check in with our COVID care team. And this team was developed to help usher you through all of the things that come with going into isolation or self-quarantine. It can be a stressful time, and we want to make sure that you can focus on taking care of yourself and doing what you need to stay healthy and to be able to check in with Shaw. This team will help arrange the meal deliveries, coordinate with classes, or if you're a student employee, coordinate with supervisors. So it's a comprehensive team that's there to help you out. Negative test results will trigger an automated results are now available text or email that comes out of our point and click system. And for those of you that went through the testing this week, you've seen some of these. We're still working through a couple of the quirks with the text messaging, but you will receive the email for sure. Now, it is important that if you wish to receive these text alerts that you have to opt into that through the point and click portal. And so the instructions are listed here, and you can revisit this at a later time if you need assistance to get set up with that. So if you didn't get a text this week and you were part of the system, it's just we're working through some of that. We've had some questions as well about how we're going to report the results of our testing program, and we will be providing weekly de-identified updates on the number of tests that have been performed and the number of positives and negatives that come from that. And we don't have quite the format ironed out yet, but we anticipate that that would be a weekly report on Monday. And then, of course, we will post this information to the dashboard that's on our COVID-19 website. And all of these results are reported by state mandate through the Iowa Department of Public Health. So our results will be included with the results for the Powesheik County data. So I want to reiterate what Ben mentioned earlier, that we're here to support you on campus, off campus, no matter where you're living. If you have health concerns, you have questions, you need assistance, please reach out to the resources that we have available. We want to take care of you, and we want to help keep you and those around you safe. So please reach out. And if you ever have any questions about the testing clinic, you can reach out to me directly, and I'm happy to answer those questions for you. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dean Marsliff.
Great, thank you, Heather, very much. For that, those of you who don't know me, I'm Elaine Marsliff. I'm currently serving as interim dean of the college. I'm a professor of chemistry here at Grinnell as well. And so it's a delight to get to talk to you today. Heather was just talking about support, and I want to be able to talk about kind of what's going to happen with your academic life and the support purposes, support materials we're putting in play for your academic life. And the first thing I want to say is to come back to what President Harris opened us up with, talking about joy. Our faculty are so excited for classes to start on Monday. We had this extra week. We really needed the extra week. Many of you were in Grinnell, and so you saw the reason we needed the extra week. But I'm hearing from faculty, they're having the normal pre-class dreams or nightmares about, oh, I forgot to go to my class Monday morning that I was supposed to go to, that typically inform us at this part of the academic year. And we've been talking about how people have been getting ready all summer, and so just wonderful that we're going to get started. As you all know, classes, even though you are here in Grinnell, classes are still going to be remote as the bulk of our students are elsewhere. And as we've talked about living and learning in community, and that you will be here within our community, we'll continue, as you heard about, to think about public health. I also want to urge you to think about kind of the privilege that you have by actually being here, even when your classes are remote. The ability perhaps to see some of your people in your classes who you maybe didn't even know here in Grinnell, and the equity considerations that might come into play, the advantages that might give you as you're in your class. And just be mindful of that there are other classmates of yours who are not here in Grinnell, and they all wish they were here. We all wish that we were here under our normal circumstances. In terms of campus life, we're going to have an initial quiet period on campus for about the next 2 weeks. We're going to have limited additional access to facilities over what you have right now. As we wait for our test results, as we kind of get to see what the next 2 weeks look like, as Iowa is changing quite dramatically in cases right now, and we get a sense of what's happening, not just in terms of our campus community health, but in terms of the health of the area around us. And if you haven't had a look at our dashboard and highlighting the I-80 corridor in terms of data, I would encourage you to do that. But meanwhile, in terms of thinking about public and community health, you can definitely be thinking about the advantages of the outdoor spaces. Our wonderful campus offers amazing spaces for living and for learning that are outdoors. We've also arranged to have 2 large tents to enhance our outdoor spaces, to provide some shade, because our wonderful campus has lost a lot of even what shade we have. We have unfortunately lost much of that shade. We were actually planning to install these tents Monday morning of the storm. Unfortunately, we did not. So we are now working. They should be up early next week. We're going to put one near the commencement stage and the other by the JRC. So these are 2 areas of campus that have pretty good outdoor Wi-Fi. You're thinking about where you might be sitting outside to study and perhaps be near each other, still with your 6 feet or more of distancing. In addition to outdoor eating and study spaces, we do plan to, as things go well, as we're really hopeful things will go well, so we started well, to slowly increase access to facilities, primarily by appointment. For fall 1, at least initially. We continue to think of your academic success, but we also think about your wellness. And initially, we are planning limited access by appointment to the Bear Recreation and Athletic Center and the Grinnell College Museum for students in our on-campus and our approved off-campus groups. For students who are on campus, we're exploring other areas for access for studying, recognizing the limitations of studying outdoors in your dorm spaces. We are unlikely to open Burling Library just because of the limitations of that facility, but we're considering, for example, if we may be able to open Kissel Library. But we'll be evaluating that throughout the fall term, and you'll get more information. Wanted to note that in addition to thinking about wellness, we have invested additional resources for your academic success. This really applies to all students, but being here in Grinnell, you'll be able to take advantage of them. The student support positions, such as tutoring, community leaders, writing mentors, library research support, various academic resources will still be available remotely, and these have been enhanced. There are still some positions open and posted on Handshake, and more are being added daily. So you might check back there if you are actually still looking for employment. The employment this fall term 1 will be primarily remote employment. We'll have limited on-campus employment opportunities, given just our remote instruction and low density and needs. So we have added a program we call Grinnell Core, which is, you may see some of those positions on Handshake, which is a combination of additional student positions to support student learning, but also recent alumni. So you may be in a course that has a recent alumni who is supporting you to add additional course support. And then finally, we've invested in technology enhancements, recognizing challenges. Some of you may have requested and been approved for technology support. If you've not received it, it probably means we don't have your contact information right in our system. And please contact financial aid, and we can arrange to get that to you as soon as possible. Some of you may still be impacted by the derecho. I know that following on our Facebook sites that MediaCom and Windstream are both out there restoring internet. They are hoping, MediaCom particularly, to have all the internet restored by this weekend in town. But if your household, if you live off campus and your household is still affected by a lack of internet, please reach out to Sarah Moster-Moss and myself, and we can think about options. It'd be helpful probably to just know about your whole household. One person could reach out versus having 4 or 5 individuals reach out. So now I want to turn things over, I think in the next slide, back to the Dean of Students, Ben Newhouse. Are you talking about life on campus? Hope I got that right.
Ben, you might still be muted.
I am. Thank you very much. So yes, in terms of life on campus and virtual programming is coming. Our student involvement and Res Live teams are diligently working that along with other partners across the campus to provide things that allow us to come together, engage, and build community in a safe and effective way. If students have ideas for programming, we've worked with the Student Advisory Board on that as well. Please feel free to share that. We want to empower great student initiatives as much as anything, as long as we're doing that within our public health guidelines. You know, I wanted to speak to the value of scurries. In many ways, I think the assessment and maybe some of the dialogue that was out there was as much about that scurries were driven by public health, and they're really not. They're driven through the recognition that interpersonal connections are critical, especially in this time of physical distancing and in a time that feels more isolated. And so that is why we are looking to have on-campus scurries for those students who are living in the residence halls. Those are already named and created. And as the population expands on campus, we will look to incorporate that. But we also have 2 students who are working with me to create off-campus scurries. We think that has great value and want to support that. And then we even have a call from the students that are virtual and learning remotely across the globe that they would love to have the chance to create scurries, especially based on their location. And so we're going to be looking to support that in a number of different ways. The one thing that we'll say is that initially we thought with scurries that, you know, that could be a family unit, but in the dynamics that are current based on the spread of the virus and the realities of Iowa, we feel like full public health guidance still needs to apply. Excuse me about the typo there. And so even when interacting with your scurry, please keep a mask on or a face covering of some sort on, and keep 6 feet social distance to the best of your ability. We recognize in the residence hall environment that sometimes is a little difficult, but again, let's just try to be as intentional as possible around that. And again, that doesn't mean that the scurry is your sole social connection. We know that you will develop friendships, make friendships, and continue to have friendships that exist beyond the scurry dynamic. And so we feel that that's wonderful. But please, again, especially in those contexts, make sure to keep public health guidance at the forefront of your interactions. I don't want to steal Francesca's thunder, because in many ways, this Grinnell Been Well at Home conversations is a birth of her thoughts and her efforts with her roommate in their living situation. So feel free to speak to that, Francesca.
Thank you. The Grinnell at Home conversations was an idea, like Ben said, that kind of came out of conversations that I was having with my own roommate, as I will be living in Grinnell. And I'm sure it's very similar to what a lot of you have already been doing organically with those you live with. But I was thinking about how all of us we share that we're in proximity with others, whether that means they're our housemates, our roommates, our family members, and those who are in our little pod or our scurry are really important to ourselves socially, but we all might have different understandings of what public health guidelines are and how we will implement them in our own spaces. So we are working on a Grinnell at Home facilitation guide that kind of has a list of conversation topics and questions that can be really important to go over with those you live with. And it may seem a little odd or forced to do it on a form and make it too formal, but I actually think that can be really, really important and really helpful, because living with others involves a lot of compromise and conversation typically. And then in these COVID times, there's some small things that, you know, you might not think of in the moment, but when they come up later, it's really important to have an idea of how everyone in your small pod would like to respond to those. So when this comes out, I really encourage you all to check it out and talk it over with people. And I know you all are doing your best for public health, and I'm not one to tell anyone to do anything. I just hope that we all together can have these conversations and continually have these conversations, especially as times change, and figure out ways that we can connect with each other in new ways outside of our home and how we can do that safely. I thought I'd throw in a little joke kind of here that I'm bringing puppets back with me to Grinnell for children, but if anyone wants a socially distanced puppet show or a virtual puppet show, I think we can just be creative in the ways that we connect with each other outside of our spaces and just communicate those really well to those we live with. So I hope that can be an important, helpful resource to those of you who are living with housemates, or even those of you who are with your families at home, to have those conversations across the globe.
That's amazing, Francesca. And I just want to say one little bit about it. This is just like the Grinnell Together commitment has a faculty staff component too, because these are expectations, many of which will apply to everybody who's a part of a community. These conversations are actually happening in every living environment. My partner and I have had to make sure we have shared understanding of our expectations about how we engage the world. And yes, we've been married for 20 years, but that doesn't mean that we haven't had to navigate these new waters together and make sure that we are being respectful of one another's understanding of how we want to navigate the world as safely as possible and within the comfort of our level. So know that I think what Francesca is recommending is absolutely brilliant, and just because you're living with friends doesn't mean that you want to assume that all will be well. I think sometimes that's where the greatest latitude can sometimes happen, because you just assume because your friends all is good. And I think it's really important to have those conversations now. And if you have trouble figuring out how to do that, we're available to talk about how you might strategize in that. But I will say the Post-it note method, never going to work. The text method, never going to work. It's got to be face-to-face from a physical distance or whatever is comfortable in your environment to do that and have good dialogue. The other thing I'm going to speak to for our on-campus residents is that right now you've been experiencing meal delivery, since many of you have been in-room quarantine because your first test has just happened. Starting Friday, August 22nd, for those students who have tested negative, grab and go starts in the marketplace dining hall. You won't be able to eat in the actual dining hall environment. The expectations are, sorry, that should be Friday, August 28th. Thank you. I'm excited that today was the, whatever, Friday, August 28th. And inside your room is where you need to eat, or if you're going to eat with people or gather with people, that needs to be outside. That's part of why the tents will go up soon, so that you can have socially distant eating environments, but that outside is the safest and kind of dynamic to do that, whether at lowest risk, I guess is the best way to say that, compared to an inside environment. And so please make good decisions around mealtime as well. We know it's hot out there, and so also make good decisions about what you can handle in terms of the heat.
Thanks, Ben. And I'm Sarah. I use she, her, hers, and I would love to be able to share with, because you are in Iowa, on campus or off campus, you do have access to our Shaw counselors, and there is a telehealth nurse from Shaw that you can contact if you need support. And so counseling sessions are available to you if you need them. Also, just as a reminder, there was an email that went out from Terry Mason, the Dean for Health and Wellness, that detailed access to telemental health services outside of Shaw. And so whether you're in Iowa or whether you're someplace else, you can access that by enrolling in the virtual care program. Or if you have college insurance already, you're already enrolled in a telemental health program where you can access providers from across the country. So know that those resources, it's so important to take care of yourself and to have mindfulness time. And so we really encourage you to take advantage of mental health resources and health resources that are on campus while you are here with us in Grinnell, and have additional resources that you can use if you are not in Grinnell and on this call. Again, I want to just reiterate that if you've had an exposure or tested positive, there is no assumption that you've done anything wrong. As Ben mentioned, we are all at risk of getting this virus, even when we do everything right. And so we want you to come forward if you need help and support, so that we can help with all the things that you'll be going through. I also just want to point you to the Meeting the Challenge website, and I listed it here, but it's long. But if you just Google Grinnell COVID, it will pop up. There's a lot of resources there for you to look at, as well as video recordings of other webinars that we've done. And this video recording will be sent out to all students and posted on our website for people to be able to access. I also want to remind you that Title IX is still a very important resource and is functioning on our campus. They can still offer you supportive measures, and as Ben mentioned, medical amnesty still applies. So please, if something has happened or you need support resources, please reach out to Title IX for those resources. Also, remind you of all the acronyms in the Division of Student Affairs that are at the ready for you. And this is college-wide as well. Even though we're working remotely, us and some of us on campus, we are still available to you. Our office phones will still be picked up by people. We are checking our emails all the time. And so the Center for Religion, Spirituality, and Social Justice is open and available, open virtually and available, with access to the lending library and the food pantry for those of you in town who would find need there, meet some needs there. The Office of International Student Affairs, everyone there is still working and can take appointments with you. Intercultural affairs advisors, they are there. Our professionals there are there to help you. And our RLCs, which are our residence life coordinators who live in the residence halls with you, they're there as a resource as well. So all of our team members in the Division of Student Affairs are available for one-on-one appointments, for group appointments, for advising appointments, as are your faculty advisors, and other places where you find support on campus, the CLS, IGE, all these places. Our employees and staff and faculty are here and ready to be available to you and support you in all the ways that you would find helpful. So just reach out and help will be there. And we hope that you can take advantage of a lot of our campus resources while you're on campus. And these are mostly available to our off-campus or our out of Grinnell. Before we go to the Q&A, I would love to invite Dr. Lakeisha Johnson, I think is on the call, to talk about our Thrive principles.
Thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate the opportunity to just highlight again. I know some of you have already seen this. It's really important that you remember the Thrive principles. The Campus Climate and Culture Committee, a group of faculty, staff, and students, came up with these principles as a way to help guide us as we start our work together here at Grinnell. It's really important to keep in mind that we expect that everyone is upholding these principles, not just students. As a faculty member, I too am committed to these values, and some of you will be in my intro class next week, so I'm excited to get to meet you in that forum. The key thing that you need to keep in mind with these principles, and we do have a website which I wanted to share, and I'm not really getting the option to share it. So we'll get that to you. The first thing is speak up, talk to improve transparency. I think sometimes people are afraid to go to their professor and say, I'm having a hard time with something. It's really important that all of us feel free to talk to each other when we have concerns or questions. My colleagues on the panel have talked quite a bit about the health and safety concerns that are guiding everything that we do. And so we try to remember that our health and safety is important, but also the safety and health of others should be paramount in all of our thinking. The next one is really exciting, and it can be frustrating for, older adults like myself who've been doing things a certain way for a long time. So really learning how to reimagine and reconsider how we do our work, how we interact with each other is so important. And so I've challenged myself as a faculty member to think about ways to, teach in this new environment and to make things easier for my students. easier in the sense of, dealing with the humanity that, being a human in this time and age. Obviously, inclusion is something that the college has talked about, and Dr. Rivera's comments speak to that. And so part of being inclusive is really being willing to be flexible. When you realize that there's some system or process that doesn't work for everyone, being willing to take a look and see what can be adjusted to help. Also, we are very serious about valuing the experiences of vulnerability that we all may face while we're working together. And again, one day we may not be as vulnerable, but the next day we may very well be vulnerable, and we need each other, and we don't want to penalize or stigmatize people who are struggling. One of the things that we say with this principle is that vulnerability is not a weakness. It doesn't mean that you're weak. It just means that you're vulnerable, and we need to respect that and respond to that. And then finally, we want to privilege empathy. And especially for those of us in leadership roles, it's really important that we are empathetic and that we listen and that we are available to help figure out solutions so that everyone can thrive. So as we enter Q&A, I'd like you to keep these principles in mind, and I'd invite you to visit the Thriving Campus Climate webpage to get more information about these principles. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can see the questions.
Sarah, it looks like I could get started on a couple of them. I couldn't seem to type answers if you want while you look at the rest of them. For some reason, I tried to answer and I couldn't in the chat. For checking out books from Burling, there is instructions. If you go right on the library webpage, right on the very front page, if you need physical access to physical items in Burling Library, please click the chat option below. So that's an easy one to answer. In terms of thinking about, let's see, I saw other things. Academic buildings, again, as we said, we're going to take this 2-week quiet period, kind of evaluate how things are going on campus, and then we hope to slowly start being able to open up. We expect to do that by appointment for spaces. You would reserve a space, and we would have more instructions on that when the time comes. So you will hear from us, and we will tell you as soon as we timely can. Computer labs are not going to be available at all for the fall term, probably not for fall term 1 or fall term 2. There is no easy way to be sharing computers and meeting our public health needs. We have taken many of the computers in the computer labs and put them therefore into virtual computing resources to allow a powerful resource for students to log into from off campus. And so likewise here, again, thinking about where that equity consideration that when people are on campus or living off campus here and having an experience that we've been really focused on the remote learning and being sure that we're able to serve all of our students. Likewise, off-campus students, we will not be opening up spaces on campus. You're welcome outdoors in our spaces until we're through this quiet period.
And I think there was a question from Clara that got answered in the chat, but just in case, if folks can't see it, Clara asked what happens if a campus student tests positive. Do we remain in our off-campus houses, and does meal delivery apply? So if space allows, yes, approved off-campus students can request to be isolated or quarantined on campus, and meal delivery will apply, and there will be a cost for that. But we are happy to try to provide you space away from your housemates if that helps to contain spread.
Molly asked a question about if there's exceptions to departing the Grinnell area, especially for religious purposes or medical or other services, and that's still permitted. If it's, if you're going to a neighboring city or Des Moines or Iowa City for those medical services, sure, you don't have to tell us about that. We ask that you just limit as much as possible. So we know that those things aren't going to be happening necessarily on a daily basis. So we just ask you to limit that. If you have to move, if for some reason you need to depart for an emergency or something outside of Iowa, you just contact me as the Dean of Students, and we can talk about it. You don't have to disclose anything necessarily private. We just need to strategize together about what re-onboarding might need to look like in light of the fact that you've departed the area.
Right, and re-onboard your testing be and that kind of thing. Elaine, do you want to address the question regarding asynchronous classes?
Absolutely. And I can also come back to the printer one. So if students are on campus, we're in the process of putting printers into the dorms since we're not giving access to other spaces yet. I know that some dorms have them, but I also know they're still being installed. And yes, and so in terms of our decision to have primarily synchronous classes, this is a decision based on a variety of factors, including consideration of what we heard about student learning and faculty teaching last semester, our desire as an institution to move back towards more regular learning in terms of and to enhance everybody's experience in the classroom. And we heard from many people about the value of the synchronous experience. We have really bolstered our financial aid to provide access to students so that they can be students first. We're really looking at the fact that we are returning as much as possible in a remote learning environment to what we think of as a more normal environment. So just as if we were all on campus and your campus job will work around your class, we hope and expect your home job can work around the class. We've bolstered for students on financial aid the amount of support that we've given in terms of grants, recognizing that time for work so that people could be working less hours and have more support. Yes, I do not know the answer to when the printers will be fully installed. I know they are being installed. I can find that out from ITS. You're muted, Sarah.
There's a clarifying question here, Ben, about who do off-campus students need to correct?
Yeah, it's me, and it's the expectation is that you're staying in Grinnell area as much as humanly possible. But if there is a circumstance that you need to discuss, feel free to reach out to me, Madeline. Happy to talk.
All right, I think we've covered all of the questions that are in the chat, and so I will invite President Harris to give a final word.
Here we go. It's just to wish you well, to hope that we will see each other. I have so many words in my head from everything that you've heard here: mindfulness, thriving, all that intentionality. And I just want to add one thing, which is something that I've shared many times when it comes to the T of thriving: transparency and talking, and what Dr. Johnson said about reaching out. And that is this phrase that I've used: critique is care. And what I mean by that is, if you care about something, it's going to be because you want it to be better. And that's how I want to see the critique. Now, can we move things quickly enough and well enough and solidly enough, to be satisfying? That's the ongoing work that we're doing. But this idea that when we reach out to each other and say, hey, this doesn't feel right, that's to make it better, right? And it's not just to cut each other down. And so the way that we do that, though, because the way that we continue to shape all this together, this is a society in formation now, always in a very new now that we're living together. So that's the work, I think, that really frames our experience. And I just so applaud the call to take care of yourself, to get those moments of respite, those moments of mindfulness, so that we can go once more into the breach, as the saying goes, once more onto trying to figure out this life that we're living now. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And so here we go. Let's launch this academic year. Thank you.